Well, here we are again at Gruden's Glossary. Thanks again for joining us. You know, last week we talked about a sideline sheet, how we call plays on game day. This week we're going to talk about a basic routine that we had during the season. So we didn't waste time. We used all the members of the staff, so we weren't all looking at the same thing all the time. But we didn't want to have any distractions. We wanted to have complete focus so we knew exactly what we were to do on a day-by-day basis. This week on Gruden's Glossary, we're going to look at a week in a coach's life, a normal week during the season. What happens on game day all the way up to Saturday, the night before the next game. It's a routine I think every coach has or has to continue to improve upon so we can maximize the time that we do have preparing for an opponent. You know, we got to play on Sundays, Thursdays, Monday night, across the world. There's a lot of very careful organization of our time. Let me show you a basic weekly routine that I used. I know a lot of other coaches use. Maybe you can use some of this to tweak your routine, or maybe you'll just disagree or find some things that you can help me with.
Saturday night, a week from tomorrow, we're going to be in St. Louis. Somebody's going to be on the field on our offense, and somebody is going to be involved on a 3rd and 11, backed up situation, a goal line situation. I want you guys to think back to this practice field and how you've worked hard to master the situation.
Let's just say we won the game on Sunday. We won't get into all the things we do after the game, after a victory, but let's enjoy the wins. But on Monday morning, I got up early. Most coaches get up very, very early. I think you heard I got up at 3:17 a.m. Maybe you'll see why here in a second. First thing we had to do was review the game film that we just played. So as the head coach, you got to look at the offense, you got to look at the defense, you got to look at the special teams. But a normal assistant coach would obviously just watch his side of the ball and carefully evaluate and grade his players. But I would watch the offensive copy first, the defensive copy second, and then I'd watch the special teams copy, and I would make some notes along the way so I could meet with the coordinators of the defense and the special teams when I was ready to. I would always make some final notes on the team we just played. Let's just say we beat Pittsburgh. I would always write down some notes, some things that were top of mind of me, adjustments that we made, things I saw from them. So if we did play Pittsburgh again in the playoffs or the next year, we had some fresh thoughts to look back on. So you got to take good notes of what just happened. Don't forget about the things that you did the day before. And then you got to meet with the trainer. The trainer comes in, gives you an update on the injuries. Who's going to be available to practice? Who's going to be available for the game? Who got hurt, etc. And then I had to go back and I had to grade the quarterback specifically. And I graded 3 things every game. I graded his feet, I graded the decision, and I graded the throw. So if it was Derek Carr or Rich Gannon or Brad Johnson, they would get a printout. Play number 1, it might be a running play. They would get a grade on their feet, their decision, and their throw. And I wanted feedback so we were on the same page. I also tried to carefully grade the play calling because I was the play caller. Guys aren't open. Maybe the protection broke down. Maybe we weren't ready for a particular blitz or coverage. You got to be critical of yourself, a little self-analysis. So when you do see the players, you can talk about some of these situations that came up. But always grade the quarterback carefully, always grade my play calling, and then take that to the quarterback so we get on the same page from that standpoint too. I'd run down the hall, I'd meet with the special teams coach, review the game, then I'd meet with the defensive coordinator and review the game. I didn't have a lot of staff meetings or sit in there for countless hours talking about this and that. I met with the coordinators. The coordinators in turn would meet with the position coaches. And sometimes passing down the hallway, I'd stick my head in and say, hey, great job with the D-line. Or what was Bobby doing on that cover 3? Why didn't he back up a little further? You have time during the day where you're always bumping into your assistant coaches. Now what I got to do, I got to sit in my office and I got to prepare for the team meeting. So as you're preparing for the team meeting, you pull out clips from the game we just played where you're showcasing somebody that did something really good. You might pull out a couple situations where we didn't do something very well. Maybe we weren't hustling to the ball. Maybe we didn't make a call or we didn't communicate properly. But we had to have these team meetings and all make sure that we're on the same page and we're calling out the things and the areas that we need to get right. and we're really focusing on the positives that we did well. But that team meeting brought us all together. Then we'd go out on the field quickly. We'd have a walkthrough, generally making corrections of things that we need to fix. Because if you screw it up in the game film, everybody that picks our tape up is going to try to force us into the same errors. So immediately correct the mistakes. That was big. Then the players would come upstairs and they would watch the tape with their coaches while the quarterbacks and the receivers and the tight ends and the defense was over here meeting. I would have a scout come in and update the personnel on the next team that we were playing. Say we're playing the Jets the next week. Tell me about the Jets defense. Tell me about their injury situation. Tell me all the answers that I have, the questions that I might have regarding the Jets. I learn their personnel. And then I get into the base blitz, the nickel blitz, and I formulate a tip sheet while the quarterbacks are still in there meeting with the offensive coordinator and the quarterback coach. I walk in as they're leaving, I pass them out a preliminary tip sheet. Here are the Jets. Here's their left corner, their right corner, here's their nickel back, their two safeties, their best pass rusher, and I would give them their top 3 or 4 base blitz and their top 3 or 4 nickel blitzes. So they were somewhat prepared as they begin their film study on Tuesday, which is the players' day off. Then as everybody leaves, this is dinner night on Monday. Monday night is a late night. So we get into all our different cut-ups. And I would go into my office and I would have a bunch of cut-ups made for me, the old beta cut-ups like this. And there'd be like 30 of these on my desk. 30 of these different cut-ups that I would start to watch as my routine unfolded. Now, of course, you don't need these big beta cartridges. Everything is in the computer. You can just find it on the new updated high-definition screen. But what I started with was I had to see every single base blitz that the upcoming opponent ran. I had to see every single nickel blitz that the upcoming opponent ran. I would draw them up. I still have some of my own drawings. I would draw these up feverishly, and they were already organized on a tape by the quality control coach. So every base blitz was organized. 25 MEB, 25 MES, 25 will at 1, 25 free safety blitz. And I would calculate how many times they blitzed in each front, who blitzed within each front. So we came up with a pattern of identification, the front and then the blitz. Then I would do the same thing with the nickel blitzes. Do they have double A's? Do they have jam? Do they have all-out blitz? Do they have any 3-down overloads? And we would categorize each nickel blitz. That helped us put together our protection plan, which to me was the most important part of the plan. Protecting the quarterback at all costs because he has the ball on every single play. So extensive work on base blitz and nickel blitz. Then I would watch the last 3 game films of the opponent we're playing so I could get a feel for how the defensive coordinator called plays. Ripping through it quickly, wanted to see how the last 3 opponents that they played attacked them. Sometimes you can stimulate the brain and get some ideas. But we would rip through those films. That took me late into the night as I got through all the blitz reels and the opponent reels, 3 game films. Before I left though, we always had a preliminary pass protection meeting. I would meet with the offensive coordinator and the offensive line coach, the running back coach, and we would talk about which protection to use. Which pass rusher do we need to focus on and help on? That was always a big deal. I couldn't go to sleep on Monday night until we put the previous game to bed, we introduced the next opponent, and we were on top of the pressure plan. How are we picking up these blitzes? Who are their best players? Who are their weakest players? What is the structure of their defense? And I wanted to go home and go to sleep for about 4 hours. Now on Tuesday morning is the big day that coaches work because the players have a day off, and it's a good thing they have a day off because I don't have any time to spend with them anyways. You get in there early and you have all your tapes ready to go. We are working hard at assembling our base run list and our base pass list. So everybody is working independently now. I might have the running back coach down the hall. He's in charge of blitz and preparing the running backs, the tight ends for the pressure package. We might have a receiver coach who's only in charge of red zone. All he's doing is looking for more ideas for us in the red zone. We have a third down expert. We have a no back expert. Everybody's eyes are responsible for looking for different things. The first thing I do in my room is I get the personnel reels. I got to start with the base defense. So I want to see every example against 21 personnel. 2 backs, 1 tight end, 2 receivers. Then I get another reel, it's 22 personnel. 2 backs, 2 tight ends, 1 receiver. Then it's 13 personnel, 1 back, 3 tight ends, 1 wide out. I want to see our opponent's base defense, how they line up to 21, 22, and 13 personnel. Now I can put together a base game plan for our guys, our 21 personnel group. Our fullback, our halfback, they see 21 personnel, they're fired up. 13 personnel, my 3 tight ends are sitting up. Woo, what do we got? And then I get into the 22 personnel. 2 running backs, 2 tight ends. The receivers they're pissed off because there's only 1 in the game, you see. But I wanted something for everybody. So we come up with our base personnel plays first. Then we get into 12 personnel. 1 back and 2 tight ends, 2 receivers. I love 12 personnel. I love tight ends. But some teams play nickel to 12. Some teams play base to 12. You got to see how teams play 12. And then you orchestrate your 12 package of plays. You do the same thing with 11 personnel. And every one of these personnel reels is already cut up by the quality control man by formation. So you're not seeing different formations within each personnel grouping over and over and over. So it's a very well orchestrated machine. You see, it's like an assembly line. After I get through the personnel reels, I start looking at, I call them mother formations. For us, a mother formation was a formation that was in every single game plan. Bunch, trips, flank, snug. We want to see how defenses are lining up against formations that we use in every game plan. I always looked at the 2-back slot reel. 2 backs, you got a tight end on one side, a slot formation on the other side. I wanted to see if the corners came over, if it was man every time, or if they played zone with corners over. I wanted to see how they handled 2-back slot. I always looked at the explosive play reel Monday morning. Opponents, plus 10 runs, plus 20 passes. I wanted to see who was getting explosive plays against this defense, how they got them. If they're spitting $20 bills out at a teller, wouldn't you stand in line with a bucket and get some? I want to make sure if they're beating the same corner, if they're throwing the same route at the same corner, maybe we should do the same. So you want to see the explosive play reel. We looked at the +4 run reel. Every run that was run against the opponent that made 4 yards or more. Sometimes you want to run that exact scheme against the opponent you're playing. You might want to change the formation. But again, if your opponent is struggling stopping a certain run, you'd be an idiot not to have that same semblance of a scheme against them on your own sideline sheet. You got to look at the play action reel. Our pass list consisted of several things. Base pass list, no huddle plays, quick game, drop back, play action, screens. So we always had these different elements of drop back passing. But play action, I wanted to see the play action reel. Can our tight ends block their defensive ends? How do their linebackers recover? Which safety of theirs has nose trouble when he sees that fake? Which of those safeties doesn't have ball skills? Maybe we can get our wideout up and on that guy. Study the play action reel. Study the explosive reel. Study the +4 run reel. And then I learned this from Al Davis. He would always put trend reels on your desk. I'd say, what the hell's that? Well, Al Davis and his staff would go around the league, college football, pro football, looking for explosive plays, looking for sacks, turnovers that resulted in touchdowns, trend reels. He wanted you to be on top of how everybody got these sacks. There's 133 sacks on there. Our offensive line coach would have to look at that. Our defensive coordinator would have to look at that. What's going on around the world of football? What trends are happening? Is there an idea that can stimulate you? Very weird. You might see a touchdown pass this Saturday from TCU, and the guy might be wide open. That's a trend. Somebody in the NFL, I promise you, has that reel on their trend reel, and they're going to run the exact same play when they see the exact same coverage. That's how football works. A lot of us steal ideas from other people. Let's not kid ourselves. We had the empty reel. What does a defense do when there's no backs? Do we shift to empty? Do we motion to empty? Do we line up empty? What if we line up empty and shift it back in the backfield? What does the defense do? I have a certain position coach that's responsible for empty. We got to know because we got to have a little block in our game plan of empty. And finally, the shift. We have to have original shifts for every game plan. If the defense hasn't seen it, they can't prepare for it. The illusion of sophistication, but remains simple and basic. So we had a coach that was responsible for the new shift of the week. And he had to come in and present that so we were all together. And then, after all these studies, eventually at 12 o'clock, the run game meeting would begin. Right before lunch, the offensive line coach, the tight end coach, those two men had been collaborating on the run reel. We would sit in there and they would present the runs to the rest of the staff, me included. I would have some ideas of runs. Perhaps the running back coach has some ideas. We bounce these ideas off. We show the tape, why the plays are going to be good, what the matchups are. We get the receiver coach in there so he knows who to block. What are the run audibles? It's an extensive hour run meeting, and we are rolling here. Then we go down and have lunch. Believe it or not, we eat. Then the afternoon starts, and we come up, and we have to bring the passing game together. Everybody's got to meet. We met at 3 or 3:30, depending on where I was. I was kind of irritable and nervous a little bit on Tuesday, and my stomach might not feel great, so I needed to have, that vibe of when to get to go. Here's a few things I looked at every Tuesday before the guys came in to put the pass list together. I always had to look at the 2-minute drill of our opponent. I wanted to see what they were doing against a moving clock. I didn't want to see exactly what they were calling at a clock stoppage, but I wanted to see what they dialed up during a moving clock, because that gave me an idea what they might call in our no huddle offense. And every week we wanted to have a package of plays that were green tempo, turbo tempo, get up and go. So we had to address that, and that was a key film study. We always had the self-scout coach come in, and he would come in and say, hey, John, these are your big tendencies. This is your big tendency on first down, third down, in the red zone, etc. Which receiver might have a tendency? Every time Tim Brown comes in short motion, he's running an inside route. Every time Keyshawn Johnson's on the backside of trips, he's running a slant. We need to come up with some tendency breakers, whatever they have become. So then we have the pass game meeting. Everybody comes in and we're fired up. They have their ideas from their little packages. I have my ideas in my computer, and we start to finalize the base pass list. And we were always guilty of having too many plays. They used to say, hey, Gruden, are you playing a doubleheader today? I said, no, we're playing a triple header. You see, the contingency plan is more important than the plan itself. And we wanted to have a package of offense for every guy on our team. 21, 22, 13, 12, 11, no huddle, quick game, drop back, play action, bootlegs, screens. You like it? And some trickery gadget plays. So as you can see, this is kind of an example of what a pass list would look like. We would finalize the list, we would all sign off on it, and every list started with, for instance, against Baltimore, in purple, we would have 7 or 8 key reminders that we wanted everybody on the team to make sure they're on top of. And then we got into our no huddle offense. We called it Freddie. We named it Freddie after Fred Biletnikoff. He was a fast, badass receiver, you know that. So we had a bunch of plays that we could dial up in a hurry. We had some one-word plays like Jake Malisak. And Jake Malisak meant we're in bunch right tight A, we're running 380, Z arrow looky. All we had to say was Jake Malisak, and everybody knew that. They had to memorize everything. One word meant everything. But as you can see, we had our no huddle plays, then we got into our 21 personnel plays. We might not have a lot of them, but we had some. Here's a shift of the week in 21. Here's a menu of plays we had in 21. And then we rolled into our 22 personnel plays. We got several plays out of 22. I love 22 personnel. If you had Mike Allstott and a big fullback, would you not want to get in 2 tight ends, 2 backs, and slam it at people? You're darn right. Then we get into 13 personnel. We had a lot of 1 back and 3 tight ends. But again, we're on page 4 here, and we're just in 13, 21, and 22 personnel. Then we get into 12 personnel, and obviously we are coming up with some menu formations. These are plays that we're running out of that formation. We might shift to that formation, we might motion to that formation, but we have plays that are good against the blitz, split safety coverages, man coverage, 3 deep zone coverages. And then we get into our 12 offense and we lay it out generally by formation so the players have a tendency to learn better and put plays together in packages. We have our quick game, 3-step drop. You got to get rid of the ball quick, change the launching spot. We had several concepts there. We had some maximum protection throws. Let's say we're expecting a blitz. Let's keep the tight end in. Let's keep the back in. Let's pick up the blitz and crank one down there to Jerry Rice or Tim Brown. Then we get into our basic drop back passes. Here's our no back passes. No backs. Do they check to a 3-man rush? Do they check to an all-out blitz? We had to have a package of plays with no backs. And then we gave them all the drawings. And you can see all these different drawings. These are like children to me. I just love this. This is like reading Green Eggs and Ham to a young kid, isn't it? I mean, hell, 600 hammer Z sit, 80 swat, a lot of different plays. So we would formulate the game plan. Now, as the list was handed to the quality control coach, he would go in there and start to draw the plays, diagrams, so we could install the plays with the players the next morning. We would fax the plays to the quarterback so the quarterback would get the plays on Tuesday night. He could study them, circle them, have a few questions ready so when we came in on Wednesday, he was ready to go. Now, after the quality control guys started to draw the plays, I would start typing the scripts for practice the next day. You see, you got to go out there and you got to have walkthroughs. You got to have team pass, 7-on-7, 9-on-7, team run. You got to have play action periods, blitz periods. So you got about 7 or 8 periods of practice that you need to script. Here's the play, here's the blitz, here's the coverage, and you got to make sure you pass out the scripts so the coaches can start to prepare their players for these scripts. It's pretty hard to do, really. And then you got to give the script to another quality control coach and a couple position coaches, and now we got to draw the cards for the scout team. If we're playing the Jets, somebody has to draw up the Jets defense that we think they're going to play to every one of these plays. So as you're scripting, you get the scripts to the quality control guys. They draw the defensive cards that are on the script to prepare the team the next day. And that's a lot of work, man. I used to have to draw all the cards. It was a late night. Then you go home. You go home and you get a few hours of sleep. And believe me, you don't go right to sleep because you're still thinking about that double corner blitz and you're thinking about, oh God, I forgot to put this play in. It's a freaking great time of year, man. I love it. Wednesday morning, the first thing you did, you get in there very early and you go over all the pictures to make sure they're drawn exactly like you see it, so you can explain it properly to the players. You might have 4 or 5 things. You say, hey, can you fix this? Make that a little deeper. Make that a little, I don't know, a little more friendly for the quarterback so it looks like a shallow cross instead of a deep cross. You want to be very particular with the splits and the progressions. Everything's got to be exact the way you see it. And then you might say, you know what, throw that play out. I had too much coffee last night. We don't need that. So you cancel out a few ideas. And then you go in there and you start working on your tip sheets because the quarterbacks always meet an hour before everybody else. And they come in there, they want these tip sheets. So here's a tip sheet that I made personally previewing the Baltimore Ravens, reviewing some of the plays that we put in, different tips for different situations. And you would go over these plays on this tip sheet with a film that I had prepared where they could see what I was talking about. Seeing is believing. So a lot of time would go into the tapes that a coach uses to prove to the players and sell the game plan to get everybody excited. But this was a strong hour meeting, and I loved Wednesday morning with the quarterbacks because you're proud of the game plan your coaches have worked so hard to put together. And you wanted these guys to look at it and go, ooh, I like this. And you wanted all the players eager to see what their role would be in the game. So that was Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. We were an early morning operation. It was Las Vegas the last couple years, man. It was hot. Think I'm going to be out there late in the afternoon practicing? Oh, wrong. So Wednesday morning, after the quarterback meeting, we go down, we have a team meeting. Remember, you got to put some thought into these team meetings, how you want to set the tone for the opponent. Our meetings weren't very long because Wednesdays we had a lot to install, offense, defense, special teams. But after the team meeting, we broke into unit meetings. Offense would stay there, defense would leave and go into their group where we would put everybody's focus on the upcoming opponent on whichever side of the ball you were on. First thing we would do is we would have each position coach come up and present the personnel that they're going to go up against. So the running back coach would walk up there and he'd preview the Jets linebackers. The offensive line coach would walk up there, he would preview the New York Jets defensive linemen. You're going to block this guy. You got Muhammad Wilkerson, good luck. You got to block this guy. But you personalize the matchups, and they would familiarize the players with their strengths, and if they had a weakness, their perceived weakness. The receiver coach would come up and preview all of the corners, so we knew what the matchups were going to be. And then the tight end coach generally would talk about the strong safeties and the free safeties. Then we'd get into the run game installation. Our offensive line coach would come up, present the base fronts that the Jets were playing. Here's their nickel base fronts that they're going to play, the primary looks that they play in base and in nickel. And a lot of our runs are designed for these fronts. And he would go into all the runs that we have out of 21 personnel, 22 personnel, 13. And then he'd get into 12 and 11. He'd have a couple no huddle plays. If we ever say Stabler, we all know it's bunch right, 99 Wanda. If we ever said LaMonica, it's bunch left, 98 Wanda. But we had code-worded plays. Anyways, the run game coach would take 45 minutes and he would go through these running plays against the fronts we think we're going to see, and he was selling it. Bill Muir, Bill Callahan, Tom Cable, they were great salesmen. You got to get this double team. You got to be an actor up there. You're selling your plays, encouraging your guys. And then yours truly would come up there and I would install the passes.
This is Y shift to green right open. So the Y shifting over here to green right and the U shifting open. Y shift to green right open. Here comes F left. Spider 2Y banana. The Z still runs the what? Under. Okay? Be heads up for that.
And I love that. I love to stand up there and get excited about getting into some of these welterweight battles with these DBs and beating certain coverages and setting up certain plays. But the installation was a very, very important deal. A lot of preparation goes in to Monday night, early Tuesday morning. And when you go down to present the game plan, you got to try to knock their socks off, man. You don't let any of these presentations fall flat. After the installation, we would go out and have a walkthrough. And the walkthrough scripts and cards were done. We would go out there, offense is on one side, defense is on the other. We had service people that were emulating the Jets defense, and we would go through the new plays that the guys need to get an extra rep or two on. We'd go over that new shift, the new play that we're running in empty. We'd pick up another blitz. We'd audible a couple times. But the walkthrough was very important as we got focused on this next opponent. After the walkthrough, we would have lunch, and then we had a quick 20-minute lunch meeting with the players. And we would watch the walkthrough tape to make sure, hey, you got this? You see that corner cat? Don't forget that colt call. And we had all these different reminders. But we did a lot, man, before practice even started. Then we went out and had a 2-hour practice. Whatever the collective bargaining agreement allows you to do, we would do. Because practice, repetition, it's the mother of learning. It's your laboratory as a coach. You know, you get excited to get out on the grass, stretch, pat and go, turnover drills, anti-turnover drills, individual work, fundamental work. Then you get into your teamwork. Whew, it's awesome. So after practice, hopefully it's a good practice. You go in there and you watch the practice film. And I would let the position coaches watch it. I wouldn't go in there and sit there with the offense or the quarterbacks all the time. I let the quarterback coach, the offensive coordinator, sit in there with the quarterbacks. Because I'm with the quarterback the whole day during the practice, getting his feedback. I don't need to get it again. I go into my room, and the first thing I'm doing for this hour, while all the coaches are watching practice film with their players, the first thing I do is I start watching short yardage and goal line. And somebody has already given me the short yardage and the goal line reel. And I'm sitting there watching nothing but 3rd and 1, nothing but 4th and 1. And if there's not enough samples, I tell the quality control guy, how come there's not enough samples? You might have to go back 3 years to find me every 3rd and 4th and 1 that has ever been called with this defensive coordinator. And we start formulating a list of plays that we would like to run in short yardage. Same thing on the goal line. Do they run a 6-2? Do they run a 53 jam? Do they run bullets off the edge? You got to come up with your primary plays that you want to run in short yardage and goal line. Because right after the meetings, we have a short yardage goal line meeting with the whole offensive staff. And my line coach, tight end coach, they've already been working on the short yardage and goal line. You don't want to just sit there and be a bobblehead like, okay, let's do that. You want to say, how about this idea? Because I got an idea. Because I had time, I found time in my routine to look at the tape and come up with a professional idea. And I love short yardage and goal line because that's usually a predictable situation. They're up in there tight. You can take a shot over their head. And what a great time to run Spider 2 Y banana Z over. I called it bozo. Banana over, Z over, get it, bozo? Anyways, we had that short yardage goal line meeting as an offensive staff. We put in 3 or 4 runs for each situation and 3 or 4 passes for each situation. And then right away, we reviewed the protection plan that we already talked about late Monday night and all day Tuesday. But we review the protection plan, and then we look at our 3rd down calls. What do we need to add that already isn't in the game plan that we passed out today? There might be a 3rd and 2 to 4 play, a 3rd and 6 to 10 play, a 3rd and 11 plus play. There might be 2 or 3 plays. There might be 12 plays we add based on how different the Jets are on 3rd down than how they are on 1st and 2nd down. So it all depended how much we felt we needed to add. But we did short yardage and goal line. We finalized 3rd down, and that was a lot of fun, man. Those are big downs, money downs, possession downs. A lot of arguments would happen in those meetings, you know? And then I'd go into my office after we have finalized 3rd down, finalized short yardage and goal line. I would start working on the scripts again because we got to go practice again the next day. We got to have walkthroughs the next day. So you start working on the scripts. You get the script to the quality control men so they can start carding up the Jets defense so our scout team knows where to go. And then before I leave, I can't wait to get my eyes on red zone. So I take the red zone of the Jets, 20 and in. Then I start studying that by increment, 20 to the 15, 15 to the 10, 10 to the 5, 5 to the goal line. Red zone. It's a long day on Tuesday, and it's a long day on Wednesday. Gruden's Glossary is brought to you by Sport Clips. The holiday season is packed. There's football to watch, presents to open, and last-second visitors you got to see. Fortunately, Sport Clips haircuts is the perfect timeout. Just when you thought the MVP experience couldn't get any more relaxing, the Playmaker scents are back. For a limited time, choose one of 3 all-new seasonal scents. That's for your hot steam towel and take your relaxation to another level. And of course, you're still getting a massaging shampoo and a great cut, just in time for those holiday photos. It's available until December 27th at participating locations only and where permitted by law. Sport Clips, it's a game changer. Okay, Thursday morning, it's Pressure Thursday. We always started Thursday morning with the Monday night theme song, the old one. Dun, 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 dun. We had an early signal callers meeting. All the centers, we had the whole offensive line, the 3rd down backs and the quarterbacks in a pressure meeting. And we started inviting the tight ends because we would review our help system in this meeting also. But Pressure Thursday was all about the Jets, how they get their sacks, how they're trying to get sacks, what blitzes they run, what do they do in crunch time situations, what's their 2-minute all-out blitz check, what are they going to do to put pressure on us? Because we're going to pick these blitzes up and we're going to apply the pressure to them. We don't feel pressure, we apply pressure. So Pressure Thursday, early morning meeting, only with the guys that are involved in picking up blitzes. After that was over, we had a brief quarterback meeting, 25 to 30 minutes, and we went right downstairs and we had a team meeting. And the team meeting, again, was short, to the point, and then we broke up into unit meetings. The offensive line coach would come up there right away, talk about 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, short yardage in the regular field. He'd put in his 2 or 3 runs. I'd jump up there, put my 2 or 3 passes in. Then he'd go up there and showcase the Jets' goal line defense. Here's what they do, man. It's a 53 jam. And we would put in our goal line runs. He would do that. Then I would put in the goal line passes. Then the offensive line would break up. They'd go into their unit room, and I would get up there and talk about 3rd down and 2 to 3, 3rd and 4 to 6, 3rd and 7 to 10, and 3rd and 11 plus. And we had all these tendencies. I can still remember people coming in and telling me exactly what was happening on every one of these down and distance increments. Hey, it's 59% blitz, 35% single high, 65% split safety looks. And then we'd specifically go about each coverage, each blitz, blah, blah, blah. But I would put in 7 or 8 passes. I might even add a few more plays to the base game plan because I had another idea come to me in the middle of the night. So it was a big, big meeting. Pressure Thursday, review the blitz. Install short yardage and goal line, get some 3rd down additions. What plays did Gruden miss? What did he add to the base game plan? Then we'd break up, go have a walkthrough. We'd go out and have a walkthrough, work on these short yardage plays, goal line plays, new 3rd down concepts, pick up a couple blitzes, work on the chips, the nudges, the help system. And then we'd go out and have a little walkthrough meeting. We'd watch the walkthrough tape. Is that nuts or what? No, it's not nuts. It's called details. So that was big. That was really big for us. We would have lunch. We'd go out and we'd have a practice. And then it's kind of like rinse and repeat. You go out and you practice. After practice, you have your individual meetings. Quarterbacks are in here. Linemen are over there. DBs are over there. You watch the practice tape. What am I doing while all the coaches are watching practice tape? I'm going over the red zone. Still going over the red zone. Trend reels. I might want to see every touchdown thrown in the Big Ten. I might want to look at every touchdown pass thrown in the SEC. Give me all the touchdown passes in the NFL. I might rip through those to see if I can get an idea. I might go through the Jets' red zone defense from 2 years ago. But you're getting as many examples of red zone ideas that you can get. And then I'd start looking again at the 2-minute drill because the red zone and the 2-minute drill meeting comes when these coaches are done from watching practice film with their players. So we'd walk in there at about 4:30. We'd work for an hour, hour and a half on red zone. We'd have dinner brought in on Thursday night. We even got some chicken fingers one time. I love that. And we'd sit in there eating our chicken fingers. We'd be watching red zone. We'd be watching red zone, and then we put on the 2-minute drill, and the coaches would try to get out of there at a pretty good time on Thursday night. Thursday night used to be date night for me, you know? Those are great nights. So Friday morning is a very early morning because I left Thursday because it was date night. But I got to pay the price. I got to get up very early, come in Friday morning, and finalize the red zone list. We had this meeting. We went over 2-minute in red zone. Plenty of ideas here. Let's finalize the list. And I tried to be the judge here. Take all the ideas that we had and come up with 4 or 5 ideas at the fringe where you're just outside the 20. And I was known to be kind of aggressive there. Shot plays from about the 27 to the 24-yard line. And then 5 or 6 plays from the 20, 5 or 6 from the 15, 5 or 6 from the 10, 5 or 6 from the 5. Everything that was in red was a brand new play that we had come up with. And I tried not to have too many red plays, but again, when you play in the red zone, defenses are different. They don't run the same coverages in the red zone they run in the regular field. So you got to come up with some new ideas. But you don't want to freak your team out where they're looking at a whole new offense. But generally in here tight, there were 7 or 8 new ideas. I used to anguish over what made the game plan and how could I leave this play out of the game plan. So sometimes I put too many plays in the game plan. So we did the red zone, and we would then sell the red zone to the quarterbacks. I would put the plays on a script. I did a tip sheet again for the QBs, a brand new tip sheet. We would start talking about maybe some reviews of things that happened in the previous day. And then we would go out and we would have a meeting with the team. The team would break up. We would have our offensive, defensive meetings. our offensive line coach would come up, he would talk about the run game installation in the red zone. And a lot of this would be review because the plays are already in. These are plays we're running at the 20, the 15, the 10, and the 5. And then he might have a little review tape, not too long, but show some plays from practice we did not do right, we need to tighten up. The offensive line would leave, and then I would put in all of our red zone plays by each increment on the field. And maybe a few key audibles because some teams come after you with the blitz. Then at the end, we would preview the 2-minute drill. And the 2-minute drill, we had a list of commandments that we went over carefully. And they used to dread the 2-minute review, like, the kill play, 4th and inches. We had a Derek call, which was an automatic sneak. Everybody knew a lot of the mechanics. But as a coach, you got to review it. Because again, out of sight, out of mind, repetition's the mother of learning. But it was all red zone, all 2-minute. And then we would go right out on the practice field, have a walkthrough. And it was a little different schedule on Friday because we wanted the players to get out of there. Right after the walkthrough, we went right into practice. And we had a red zone emphasis day. A few plays in the team, a move the ball period, but then we would have 2 or 3 periods of nothing but red zone pass offense work. And then we had a 2-minute drill against our defense. Maybe we would cover a couple situations in review, but red zone emphasis, 2-minute emphasis, review emphasis on Friday. Players get out of there. Friday afternoon, pretty much coaches have an opportunity to tighten up their positions, what they need to talk about with their players, making review tapes for the weekend, whatever it may be. And some of the coaches would start working on next week before they left on Friday because you don't want to be behind. You want to stay ahead of the freaking world, man. So you got to use your time accordingly. Okay, and then Saturday morning, I would start working on my sideline sheet, taking everything that we practiced, what looked good, and start formulating the sideline sheet that we covered last week. I would have a script of plays, and I would start working on a tape to show the players Saturday to try to get them fired up about the game a little bit. But we would go out there, have a walkthrough, and we would work on reviewing some of the plays that maybe we need to tighten up. And then I would also, on Saturday, have a list of contingency plays. For instance, a down, where it's a 2-minute drill. We got no timeouts left. There's 16 seconds left. If you catch a pass, go down immediately because we're going to have to run up there and clock it. We don't have a timeout. It's called a down. You might want to have an all-out blitz audible just in case. You might want to throw 2 side adjustments to your rookie split end. You might want to work on some plays, the Hail Mary, last play of the game, or the setup play. There's a lot of situations that got to be covered, and we used to have a script of things that we would check off on Saturday morning. It's kind of fun. Sometimes on a Saturday, I would know in my mind what the first 15 plays of the game were. We would go out there on Saturday and we would walk through the first 10 or 12 plays of the game. They usually didn't come off in perfect order, but you want the players to feel the rhythm of how we're going to start the game. And then Saturday, the players would leave. They'd have a lunch for everybody. They'd be out of the building. I would usually stay in the hotel and finish my sideline sheet, think about some things I would say to the team, get a workout, try to get my mind fresh, sometimes take a little bit of a nap, man. And if I had time, start working on the next week because you might have a Thursday game and you got to use every second available during the day. We have a coaches meeting Saturday night before we go downstairs and meet with the players for our team meeting. And all the coaches are going over the sideline sheet. We're prioritizing what's your favorite red zone play at the 20? What's your favorite red zone play at the 10? What's your favorite goal line pass? What's your favorite short yardage pass? If you gave it a 1 and he gave it a 1, that's probably number 1. Then we'd go down and meet with the quarterbacks, and I'd ask the quarterbacks, what do you like at the 20? What do you like at the 15? And normally, we were on the same page, coaches and quarterbacks. If it was ever a 50-50 situation, I always sided with Brad Johnson. I always sided with Gannon, and I always sided with Derek Carr. They got to get it done, you know. And then we'd have our team meeting, and our coordinators would have a presentation. I'd say a few things, and we'd have spaghetti and hamburgers the night before a game. And good night, everybody. We try to stay in a hotel every Saturday night, even on home games. You know, especially when you're in Las Vegas, you know. You got a lot of friends coming up there that want to go to the game. We tried to talk our players into staying at the hotel. Sunday morning, I would be up in my hotel room if we were on the road, or I would be at my office early the day of the game. I would always keep going over the down and distance reels up until kickoff. 1st and 10, I'd go through what did the Jets do on 1st and 10. I'd be making notes and notes and notes, trying to prioritize some of the best plays out of the game plan for 1st and 10. Then I'd look at the 2nd and 1 to 6, 2nd and 7 to 10. I'd review my 3rd down list. I was always reviewing my list. And then I'd think about the contingency plan, because a lot of our plays were set up for specific players. Well, what if this player was out of the game? What would we do? What would we do on 3rd down if Tim Brown wasn't available? That wouldn't be good. But you got to have a plan. You film everything, the walkthroughs, the individual, the practice tape. You have a rhythm of Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then you review it. Day of game is Sunday. Monday, review the game film. Let's get on to the blitz reels. Tuesday, players' day off. Late night for the coaches making the base game plan. Wednesday, present the base game plan, go practice. And after practice, get into short yardage, goal line, and 3rd down. Then on Thursday, you go out there and you practice. And after practice, we got to start working on our red zone offense, our 2-minute offense. And then on Friday, we practice the red zone, we practice the 2-minute, we have a review. And then Saturday, we come out there, we have an extensive walkthrough review, reviewing a lot of special plays that might come up, that probably won't come up. And then you do the same thing every week, you shake it up. But I don't think one person can do it all. So you assign somebody on your staff. You're responsible for screens and shovel passes. Somebody's the play action expert. Who's advancing us on the red zone? Who's in charge of goal line? And then when you get into those mother formations, what are we going to run out of bunch? Like we had a plan against the Ravens. We knew if we ever got into this form of bunch and they all out blitzed us, we're going to 58 Riddler. That was the name of the protection and the route. And guess what Zay Jones did on the last play of the game in overtime on 58 Riddler? You got to look it up to see for yourself. Somebody's got to help me with the nickel blitzes. Who's in charge of empty? Who's in charge of the base blitzes? Jiminy Christmas. And then, how do you stimulate your team? Can we show somebody that this Buccaneers secondary really tackles? And if you're not ready, they're going to poke the ball loose? Who's telling your receivers how to get releases against these DBs? You try getting away from Marshawn Lattimore in his prime when he was in the Saints. And then you got Tim Brown. He wears number 81. How do you stimulate Tim Brown? What are we going to put in? What are some routes you're going to let him run that can make our dreams dance, man? And then what's our scramble drill rules? Hell, we got Brett Favre scrambling all over the field. We got to put some of his scrambles on a reel to teach our guys how to react to him better. And then our running backs picking up blitzes. Let's show them some examples around the league of running backs that ain't picking up blitzes. And then let's show them us picking up blitzes. Let's fire them up. Here's some trend reels. Holy cow. Did you see what happened in the Pac-12 last week? There was an unbelievable red zone touchdown that the USC Trojans ran. Hey, you want to teach your halfback how to run a choice route? How about getting some Marshall Faulk tape? I'd get some of that. You want to finish some runs? Let's get some LaDainian Tomlinson tapes. But anyways, you're always preparing for these meetings. You got all this freaking information, but the players know what to expect on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You know, you don't want to sit in there and waste time. You don't want to waste time. You want to work overtime. You don't want to waste time. This is your time. So take advantage of your time because we can't get enough of it. You know, I think a routine is very, very important. I think it's a winning edge. What you do on Monday, what you do on Tuesday, what you do on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all the way up to the game. And I think your players need to get a rhythm as well. And if they can fall into a rhythm of learning what to expect, what are we doing on Thursdays, Fridays, when do I lift, when do I eat, when do I rest, I think it's all good. But when you play on Thursday night, you throw out all this preparation. What the hell do you do, man? How do you get all this work done when you play on Sunday night? You're on the road. You get home at 1 o'clock in the morning. Monday, do you even look at the game that you just played? Do you even have time to make corrections? No, because you got to get on to the next game. And then you got some guys that are hurt. Some of these guys, they don't get the day off on Tuesday like I just went through. They got to go right out and practice on Tuesday because we got to get on the plane Wednesday to go play a game on Thursday. So when there's no time to recover and there's no preparation, I don't know how you expect some of these guys to go out and play good. Do you? So when you're playing the Ravens and you're coming up with your mother formations, I remember this. We had jazz right bunch tout, and we had a motion before the ball was snapped called Foz, F-O-Z. The F and the Z would motion, the Joe bunch tout. And we had all these plays, Gold Rush, 49er, specials, and beaches. And if we got an all-out blitz, we were going to get the Riddler. Well, guess what happened late in the game? Last play of the game in overtime, we're in jazz right bunch tout. Here comes the Ravens with an all-out blitz. I can still hear Derek Carr going to 58 Riddler and Zay Jones right here on 58 Riddler. Take a look at it. He's in here as the point man in bunch. He runs this special seam against all-out blitz. And I never forget this because Marlon Humphrey got picked off. You can check it out. I would show it to you, but I'd get incarcerated if I showed any video to you guys without proper authorization. I don't have that certificate, and I can't afford the money, but check it out. Last play of the game. Woo! 58 Riddler. God, I love football. You?